Hello and welcome back to Code Harvest. In this video we are going to be creating a cart for users so that they can include the items that they desire into their cart, and we're also going to be reducing the verbosity of our code, and to do this we're going to be using the Flask framework for this. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so now we should start including or adding the add to cart button. It should be below each of these layout items, but just below price, and we should increase the height so that we can make space for that button. Alright, now that we have added the add to cart feature, and we've also included a hovering effect, so when you hover around it, it lightens. So now we are going to be working on the Flask side of this website. So let's head over to our VS Code, and here we're going to have to include or add a new file called app.py. Then we're going to store these files, these HTML files, into a folder called templates, and we are going to rename this styles folder to static. Okay, and as you can see, now we're having a little problem. That's because we already started storing everything in a Flask order, so we're not going to be using the live server anymore, so we're gonna have to cancel that. And now we're going to be working on our app.py file, and work on the requirements that will be needed for our Flask. Okay, so now we have included the requirements that will be needed for our Flask to work, and obviously if you try to reload, it will not connect since we have not included our app root. So we're going to include an app root for each of our templates, basically each of our HTML files, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we have included an app root for each of those, now all we need to do is type in this statement in the terminal, or line in the terminal, python 3 app.py, run, and now it is on the server. So now let's try and reload this, or actually retype this, and there we go. So our website now works. However, our styles have not yet connected, since we are still using, so this is index, so we are still using styles. So a quick trick is, if you're using VS Code, you can just type in styles. Anything that has style slash should be replaced with static slash. Okay, so let's reload that, and now everything is back to normal. And now another problem is we'll also have to change these hrefs, the references, link references, since we're no longer using .html, but we're going to be using the app roots that we've given it, since here we have named our path or root of each website to something different. So for example, index is slash, store is slash store, and so on. So what we're going to do is another trick, the same trick. We're just going to say anything that has index.html except for this one here, we're going to replace it with slash. So let's see, yeah. Now anything that has store.html should be replaced with store, and I'll just do the same for the other templates. Okay, so when we go back, reload the page, now it works. Alright, so our next step is heading over to our app file, and what we're going to be doing is creating a new database called store, in which we're going to be storing all our items. So as we said earlier, we want our code to be less verbose, and earlier we had a copy of all the items. It was all in a list and it was copied and pasted 10 times, but rather than that, we could actually store them in a database or in a table, so that we can use Jinja in order to loop them and bring them through. We just need one of these, so I have already removed all the other items. So now let's get started. So here we're going to be importing SQLite, because that's what we're going to be using, and we also have to connect the database to Flask. Okay, so now that we have that done and our database has been automatically added, so what we're going to be doing next is also including a new file called store.sql, which is where we're going to be writing everything that we're going to be adding into our SQLite database. So actually we do not need this right now, but what we're going to be doing is we're going to be typing in SQLite3 or whatever version you're using into our terminal, and the name of our database. So over here, we're just going to type in some SQLite commands or statements. So what we're going to say is first create a table where we're going to include all our items in, and we're also going to be creating a table that is going to store everything that the user chooses, every item that the user chooses. So we're going to be including a foreign key for that, which is going to be our item ID. And yeah, so let's get started. Inserting items to the cart, what we want to do is create a new template, a new HTML file, in which we're going to call cart.html. so this is where the users will be able to view their cart. So what we want to do is include an icon. So in normal view, it should show a cart image, and what we're going to do is we're going to take an SHV. You can take an image or an icon from any other website. I'm using Bootstrap. You can take it from any website that you know or site that you know. So let's head over to Bootstrap icons. So this is the one that I'm going to be using. I'll copy that and paste that over here. So what we want to do is create a new list. Oops, this should be href. Alright, so what we have done is included the root of what our website would be called. So I'll just copy this and paste this here, call it cart. And right now what we're going to be doing is we want the same design, the same navigation bar, and basically background, backdrop as the one in store HTML. Alright, so now that we are done with including the trolley, we made it look great, and it also links to our cart. So now we are going to be designing the cart website so that we should be able to create a table in which our items will be displayed. So let's head over to our cart page, and in here we're just going to create a new div and include our table. Okay, so now that we have created our table, let's reload that, and obviously it does not look like a proper table. So now let's head over to our CSS for this. So what we're going to be doing is working on in style, in our main style CSS file. And now that we have set that up, we are going to be working on before we design our table, we're going to be working on including the items that will be stored in cart. So right now we're going to go back to our products page. So over here, when we click on this, there should be the cart the site should be able to collect that data and store that into the cart file, store the item ID. So we should be using a form for this. A form is usually used to collect data from users. So over here we're going to be creating a form, so each item will have its own form, and the method should be post. Okay, and with that we're also going to be including an input. And we should be able to reload, and there shouldn't be any changes, so it looks alright. The only change is that now we're going to be using forms. So now let's head back to app.py, and over here we're just gonna say if, and that's why we included the request library. So here we're just gonna say request, if request equals to post, then we're going to collect the data. Otherwise it's just gonna collect all the items, fetch them all, and display them. Alright, so now that we have a variable that is going to store in the value that is going to be collected, in which the data is the item ID that the user clicks, the item that the user clicks. Now we're going to be opening up cart, we're going to be selecting cart, and we're going to make sure that the item is not already added into the cart. So we're just going to say select star from cart, everything from cart, where item ID equals to the value, which is the item ID. Since we have called we have included a foreign key called item ID, so it's going to be checking if the item ID is already stored in. Otherwise, and if it is, then we're just going to tell the user that the item is already added into your cart. Otherwise, we're going to insert the item ID into the cart. So now that we have that said, before actually executing the insert function and committing that, we are going to first print that item so that we can check and see if it works. Otherwise, we're going to have to make a few changes. So here, Python 3, app.py run. Let's reload this. Okay, everything seems fine, and let's see what happens. The method is not allowed. Oh, okay. So methods. Okay, so now that we have included the post method, what we're going to be doing is printing the item ID to make sure that it actually that it's actually being processed, that it's actually being collected from the user. So I've just reloaded this, so now let's click on an item, for example, blue floral dress. So I should just expect the ID of it, and that's ID 1 since it's the first one. Let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stripped pants. Add to cart, and that should be shown, so 5. So now that that's done, we can safely insert the item ID into the database. Okay, so right now, insert cart, item ID values, item ID. And once that's committed, it should be stored into the cart. So let's try and run this again. Reload this, and let's go with this one, peach floral dress. And since now that is stored, we obviously do not know, unless we cancel the server streaming. So we're just going to we're just going to view this in our cart that we have made over here. So at the moment we just have 1, 2, 3. So let's include some Jinja and looping. So So over here, we're just gonna go to our cart, and we're just going to create the almost similar statements that we made. Basically everything here. Okay, so now we're including the for loop. So for item and cart, I'm just going to in advance put end for. Tap that, and here we're just going to include item, but we're going to be deciding on what position they will be in a moment. So let's head over to our SQL, and so as you can see, I have already included the item ID, and inside of which should be the item ID that I put. It was the peach floral dress. I believe that was ID 4. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be joining these two tables together through via the statement called, or the keyword called inner join. We're going to join these two tables together through the item ID, since the item ID is the same. And so let's head back here. We don't need the CSS file at the moment. We just want to make sure that the table works. So instead of just select everything from items, we're going to say select everything from cart. However, what we want is we want to inner join. So inner join items on item ID. We'll say cart.item ID should equal items.item ID. Okay, so I believe that's what we need. And before rendering that, before we actually implement that to or take it to our table in our HTML, we're just going to first print. We want to see if it actually works. We want to see without checking the HTML file, our HTML file. So we're just going to get our server back again. And if I reload this, okay, so everything appears even over here in the terminal. So what we're going to be doing is over here in the terminal, which is much more clearer, we're going to be indexing what we need. So the first thing we need is the product. We want to display the image of the product, and the image is, I believe, the last one. So we're just going to say -1. Now the next thing is the name of the image, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the price is next to that, so it's 5. Let's reload that. So obviously we're just going to make that into a source. So so that we actually view the image and not the path or URL. And we're just gonna say okay, so we're just gonna say static, which is in images, which is in products, and please show us this image. And now our image is shown, but we want to obviously reduce that image. But before that, we're going to be designing the table and making it match the theme of the website. Okay, so as you can see, it looks way better. I think it would be better if I capitalized this, and now we're going to be editing the image as well. Okay, so as you can see, now it looks much more styled. So let's go back to products and let's include one more product. We're just gonna go with curvy red dress. We're gonna visit our cart, and now you can see all 3 items in here, and it looks much more better, much more kind of modernized. Alright, so now we are going to be including the cart for our mobile users, since obviously it's not visible at the moment. So we're just gonna head over to our navigation bar, and in here we're just gonna, and right after the login or sign up, we're just gonna type in add to cart. And I've named the ID mobile. Actually, I'll shorten it to mob, add to cart. Okay, so this should be visible to other sites. For example, products. It's not included, so we'll just have to copy that and paste that in there. And when we reload that, now it should appear. But not only should it appear, it should be referred to cart instead, and here as well. Now let's reload that, add the cart, and now it works. Now we're at the end of this video, so thanks for watching, and please do give this video a like if you liked this video and if this video was informative to you, and also please comment down below on what you would like to see next, especially as this is the last video or series episode of our web series, which we've been doing for a few weeks now. And if you'd like to see the other episodes, please do check the description down below, and also subscribe if you haven't already. See you next week. Goodbye.